Why are so many people uninterested in dating nowadays? Story 1. We have the largest single population we've ever had. My therapist has a few ideas about why this might be. She says, people are single because they enjoy being single now. They can come and go as they please and don't have to answer to anyone. People are single because they either have very high expectations of others or very low expectations of themselves. People are single because they're hesitant to put themselves out there. People are single because of technology. Most of our communication happens through email, text, forums, and social media. Not exactly the definition of a third space. Someone replied, people have been raised to be self-centered and overly focused on themselves. They are skilled at seeing the world through their own lens and excusing their poor behavior because they believe they have a valid reason for it. Meanwhile, they judge everyone else harshly, lacking understanding or empathy for other people's challenges. We're in a strange place as a society where we show endless tolerance for some people and absolutely none for others, often divided along political, gender, socioeconomic, and other lines. Someone else replied, our phones are training us to behave this way. We're all so caught up in our own distractions. I've noticed that when my wife and I watch TV shows together, we're both on our devices. We constantly ask each other, what happened? Or, what did they say? Because we're not really paying attention to the show or to each other. My wife does have a no devices rule at the dinner table, but I think we should extend that rule to other times when we're supposed to be enjoying something together. I know this bothers my wife too, but when she does it, she doesn't always realize it. She once told me how upset she was when our old neighbor visited after not talking to her for a while and spent most of the visit on her phone, barely engaging in conversation. This summer I went to a baseball game and two teenage girls sat next to me. They were on their phones the entire time. It seemed like the only reason they came to the game was to take cute selfies in their baseball outfits and post them on Snapchat and Instagram. Story 2. I'll admit I can be a difficult person to be in a relationship with, and I'm aware of that. I don't enjoy having someone around all the time. Nobody deserves to be with someone who's counting down the minutes until they leave. I've never been happier than I am living alone. I wear what I want, eat what I want, and watch what I want. It might seem selfish, but why not? I'm genuinely happy with who I am in my own space. It's a level of freedom I didn't even realize was possible. Story 3. I'm 44. All the good ones have either been happily married for 20 years or have far better options than me. Honestly, I just don't have the desire to deal with unnecessary stress and drama. I'd rather live a peaceful life where I don't have to worry about conflict or being criticized for simply taking a nap. Story 4. For me, it's maybe more complicated than for some, but ultimately, I'm very comfortable being single. I've been single for a while, and I mostly don't feel like I'm missing out on much. I think millennials and Gen Z as a group tend to be skeptical of the idea that they should do things just because others expect them to. For a lot of people dealing with the challenges of dating today, that expectation seems to play a big role. For those who find great long-term relationships that fulfill them in every way, I'm genuinely happy for them, but choosing to be single is also a valid option. And I'm glad more people are recognizing that being single doesn't mean being incomplete. If someone decides to pursue a relationship in the future, they'll likely be better prepared for it. Story 5. There's much less pressure to be in a relationship these days. For example, a friend of mine from a less developed country shared that in her home country, if a woman isn't married by 25 or a man by 35, people assume there must be something wrong with them, and there's a lot of social stigma. For us, there's little stigma around being single, divorced, or ending a relationship when we're unhappy. At the same time, people go out less than they used to, so meeting someone in places like bars has become more hit or miss. Online dating helps fill that gap to some extent, but it comes with its own challenges. Women often face overwhelming attention, harassment, and sometimes even intimidating experiences. Meanwhile, men often feel ignored or deal with negative interactions, creating struggles for everyone, though in different ways. When you add in additional fears, like the worry of being labeled as inappropriate or pushy for simply flirting or asking someone out, it's no surprise that so many people are single. Story 6. When I, 24F, was single, I wasn't very interested in dating because I wanted a relationship that would be a positive addition to my life, and many men seemed like more of a negative. Issues like outdated attitudes toward women, lack of effort in shared responsibilities, poor emotional intelligence, and a general lack of awareness about the mental load made dating feel like more stress than it was worth. Finding a relationship where I didn't have to constantly struggle with these challenges was important to me, and I wasn't willing to settle for anything less. Eventually, I did find that kind of relationship, and I feel incredibly lucky. I make sure to remind him every day how grateful I am. Story 7. I'm 24 and part of Gen Z. I lost interest in dating because I felt like I wasn't getting much attention from women. I started asking myself, why should I care about people who clearly don't care about me? That mindset led me to focus on self-improvement. Now, my priorities are making money and staying in shape, and that's what I've been dedicating myself to over the past 5 years. This is where I found happiness. Story 8. Have you been on the dating scene recently? It's about as enjoyable as navigating a disaster zone. You try singles nights, speed dating, or nights out at clubs, all exhausting and costly. When that doesn't work, you turn to apps like Bumble, Plenty of Fish, or OkCupid. Before long, you start seeing the same profiles over and over. When you do find someone new you like, they either don't match with you, or if they do, they ignore you or give you the lowest effort interaction. For example, when I met my husband, I had been trying to get a date with someone else who seemed to ghost me, so I moved on. After my husband and I became official, that guy messaged me with a simple, "Hey, 8 weeks later." When you finally get a date, it can feel like they've ignored everything on your profile, making it seem like a waste of time. You focus on self-improvement, only to feel frustrated when your efforts don't seem to pay off. This often leads to resentment. Women start saying men are inconsiderate, and men begin demanding unrealistic ideals from women. It all stems from people feeling hurt, frustrated, and alone. Here's the thing. The dating industry doesn't profit from people finding happiness and building relationships. It thrives on keeping people single and unhappy. Social media hasn't helped. It's conditioned men and women to see each other as adversaries. Dating isn't fun or affordable anymore. The only way to change the game might just be to stop playing altogether. Story 9. For the first time in history, poor people of both genders can live a comfortable, fulfilling life alone, and a lot of them dig it. Story 10. Since dating today is mostly online, it's much easier for busy people to connect through apps because of work and school commitments. The issue is, online dating tends to have a lot more men than women unless you pay for a premium service for a more serious relationship. I remember reading an article that said the ratio on apps like Tinder is 1 woman for every 100 men. Essentially, for every woman, there are 100 men trying to connect, so as a man, your chance of getting a response is very small. Even if you do get a response after many attempts, there's still a good chance that you might not be compatible. This is why the dating scene today can be so exhausting, time-consuming, and expensive. With the rising cost of living, having a child seems out of reach for many people, since many can barely make ends meet on their own. Buying a house is also becoming more difficult with high interest rates, and the average price of homes is often $500,000 to $600,000 or more, depending on where you live. And then there are expectations from some women for their partner to be 6'5", making $250,000 plus, owning a house and a car, while keeping their own money to themselves. Story 11. I think it's a mix of factors, with the biggest being social media. Social media tells everyone their standards should be incredibly high, without actually encouraging them to contribute anything themselves. I've noticed more videos now than ever before depicting division between the sexes. I also have close single male and female friends, and both seem unrealistic and unwilling to compromise even a little on what they want. My female friends say they want equality, but expect a guy to pay for everything. The guys want a more traditional partner, but expect her to go 50-50 on dates. I'm sure these ideas come from social media. They all tell me they want a relationship like mine because my partner and I are so happy, but when I try to explain things to them, it's like I'm saying something terrible. So they all end up giving up for a while. Feeling lonely or frustrated, try again, get annoyed, and then give up again. I know I rambled a bit, but I hope you get my point. Story 12, burnout. Dating apps can be really tough. For men, they often don't lead to many matches. And for women, the few men they do match with often aren't looking for a real relationship or have serious issues that aren't obvious from just their appearance. I've tried using apps, but they don't work for me. I met my boyfriend on Discord while talking about Pokemon. Story 13. It's surprising how many women here criticize men and blame us for all their issues. The fact that they don't even take a moment to reflect on what they could do differently in a relationship is a big reason why many of us are still single. Some seem to believe that women are flawless and men are the problem. Reddit can sometimes feel like an echo chamber. Every woman I've dated has had her challenges, but also many positive qualities. This thread seems so off base by calling men emotionally immature, when in my experience, the most emotionally immature moments in relationships have often been from the women I've dated. Story 14. I've heard too many women openly express negative feelings toward men for me to care much anymore. It seems to be more extreme in rural Ireland. I once had a woman push me to continue when I was heavily intoxicated, and even though I expressed that I was exhausted and just wanted to go to sleep, she didn't listen. The next day, she accused me of being angry with her, and the women who heard about it acted as if they were entitled to something just to boost their own self-esteem. Story 15. People are in relationships with their phones now. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.